This is Jessie. She's a little bit out of breath because she's just finished hunting, but Jessie is a Lagotto Romagnolo, an Italian breed that has been developed specifically to find truffles. If we look at Jessie, we can see some of the physical traits which make her ideal for working in the forest. This dense, curly coat will protect her from the undergrowth, and her strong claws are adapted for digging. She's small, but she's also compact, powerful and wiry. This intelligent and affectionate breed is rapidly gaining in popularity as a pet, with some owners, though, mistakenly believing that the Lagotto will instinctively hunt for truffles with little or no training. In this video, I will walk you through the true journey of turning a Lagotto Romagnolo into a truffle hunting dog, together with all of the challenges and the breakthroughs. You'll see over this 2-year process whether the breed actually lives up to its reputation as the ultimate truffling partner. Oh, look who's here. Well, look who's here. But before we dive into the actual training, I should share a bit of the background. This is my first time working with a Lagotto Romagnolo. I'm excited to see what this breed is capable of. For the last 18 years, we have relied on pointers, breeding our own line from our best truffle dogs. Hunting is a year-round job for us, with 4 different species across the seasons. So what we look for in a hunting companion may differ from a hunter who only goes out a few weekends a year. We typically work with a team of 3 or 4 dogs, and they hunt off lead. 2 of these will be short-range hunters, and 2 use a long-range hunting style. The short-range dogs will zigzag ahead of us, nose to the ground, whereas their long-range teammates will circle the forest, picking up the scent on the air. Each dog has its role and is chosen for its ability to use its nose, its focus, stamina, and of course compatibility. What you got there? For years I've been working with large, very athletic dogs like Betty and Alan. But let's be honest, I'm getting on a bit, and it's becoming more and more physically demanding for me to keep up with them. This is one of the reasons why I decided to start working with a smaller breed like the Lagotto. So enter Jessie, just over 2 years ago. These first few days were all about helping Jessie to settle in. A new home is obviously a big adjustment, so the focus is on making her feel safe and starting to build a bond, getting to know each other. All 3 of these are crucial before training can begin. After a week settling in, we started a structured program of obedience training, which lasts until Jessie is around 6 months. This training will build a foundation for more advanced work later on. We started with toilet training and taught Jessie to come when she was called and to sit. She also learned to socialise with the other dogs and other people, and to walk on a lead. In parallel, we introduced nose work into our activities, encouraging Jessie to use her natural scenting abilities. Being scent-driven is key for a truffle dog, and obviously we want to enforce this early on. Hiding toys and treats around the house and getting the dog to use her nose to find them is great mental stimulation. Don't just feed the dog from the bowl. Start using food as part of your training. Make food part of the game because we always want to keep training fun. Dogs learn best when the activity is short and enjoyable. And as the handler, it's up to you to set the tone. The dog will look to you for cues, which means that your enthusiasm will make all the difference. It will help motivation, and it will also strengthen the bond between you two. On the subject of games, during this early stage, keep in mind that the Lagotto is a working dog with working dog genes. Though cute, they were not bred to sit around looking pretty. They will thrive when given tasks that challenge body and mind. And though they are small, they need a solid amount of exercise, at least an hour a day. The Lagotto's natural drive to work means that they enjoy problem-solving tasks. And without enough activity, they can become restless and even destructive. In this early stage, we also introduced Jessie to a variety of situations. This will help build up her confidence. We also need to think about the type of situations she will be in as a truffle hunter. She should be comfortable, for example, with car travel, And we don't want her to be spooked by loud noises, for example, gunshots from hunters in the forest or thunderstorms. And also, as we've said, she needs to get used to the other dogs, as she's going to be working as part of a team. We also spend a lot of time in the forest, acclimatizing Jessie to the kind of environment that she will be working in. Here she can explore the undergrowth and navigate obstacles and familiarise herself with the smells and textures of the forest. Climbing and manoeuvring her way around in the wild helps her to develop the agility and the awareness that she will need in future. Jessie is now 6 months old and we've been training her to find and to play with truffles inside the house. At around 6 months, I started truffle training proper. Beginning training young can give you a head start, but it's not a requirement, as older dogs can be taught very successfully too. Truffle training relies on classical conditioning. This is a simple but powerful technique where the dog learns to connect the smell of the truffle with some positive reward. This reward could be food, play or praise, whatever your dog responds best to. We're using food. To introduce the truffle scent to the dog, you've got 3 options: real truffles, shop-bought truffle oil, or homemade truffle oil. Now I have a recipe for homemade oil and I'll leave that in the links below. In the first stage I will use all 3, depending on what's available. Real truffles can be expensive and they have a short shelf life, so it may be more convenient to just buy some oil. For now, I wouldn't worry about what kind. Put a few drops of the oil on a cotton wool ball, wrap it in some foil, put that in a sock or put it in some type of container. So we start truffle training inside, in the house, in a quiet, clear space. Here we get Jessie to sniff the truffle and she's immediately rewarded. We then start to create some distance and make the activity a little bit more difficult. So she has to approach the truffle and then she's rewarded. And then we'll begin hiding the truffle, starting with very easy places and then gradually increasing the difficulty. When she's mastered this step, and don't hurry through it, you can go outdoors and go through the same steps again. It will be much harder for her to focus outdoors because there are so many distracting smells and different things going on. We've brought Jessie out today to an enclosed area where she'll be safer, but also where there'll be fewer distracting scents because not so many animals can get in here. Before we start, we've given her a few minutes to explore and to have a run around. Timing is important. We've brought Jessie out before she has her evening meal so that these snacks will act as more of an incentive. When she's learned to concentrate and sniff the truffle and get her reward, you can then start hiding the truffle, and then you can progress to burying the truffle. Don't forget that you need to introduce a command word, something like find it or truffle. I don't know, you decide. Anyway, let's see how she gets on finding these truffles, which I'm going to bury. Now, these are tubo brumale. Now, if you don't have fresh truffles, it doesn't matter. I don't want to bury these too deeply to begin with, so I'll just put little shallow holes. Another one. Now I'll go and get Jessie from the car. Find it, Jessie. Find it. We found it. Oh, she's got it. And she's eaten it. Although Jessie is great at locating the scent, she's also eating the truffle instead of waiting for the snack. And this means that I need to be quicker. A lot of people want their dog to indicate on the truffle. Most hunters, though, prefer their dogs to dig. The problem with digging is that the dog could scratch the truffle. We can deal with this later on by introducing a stop command. Anyway, my main problem right now is that Jessie wants to eat the truffles. So before I can resume truffle training, I first need to teach her the drop command. She's eating it. Jessie, drop it. Drop, drop. this problem belongs squarely in the general obedience sector. So I'm going to go back indoors with Jessie and try to teach her to give me things that she wants to hold on to, that she'd rather play with or eat. In this case, a truffle. We'll go back into the house because there are too many distractions here. I want to go into a more controlled and familiar environment. As you can see, she won't give it to me. I'm just going to hold on to it. I'm not tugging, I'm not playing. She's got to see that this is a game we're not going to play. Okay. When I feel that she's loosened her grip, I'm going to pull it from her. And give her a sausage. Okay, so again, not doing anything, just very indifferent to this whole game. When I feel that she loosens her grip, take it from her. Quickly give her the sausage. Jessie, now show her the sausage. Jessie, Jessie. And I've got it from her. Let's try it again. Good girl. I'll introduce the command word drop. Now once we have the command word, then hopefully we can generalise this behaviour to not only socks, but all kinds of footwear, and then eventually truffles. Drop. Good girl. Good girl. Let's see what we'll do as a truffle. Jessie, drop. Good girl. Good girl. Drop. Drop. Good girl. Okay, so she's broken it in two, but she's dropping it. Drop. Good girl. Jessie, drop. Drop. Thank you. Jessie. Have Jessie. Jessie, drop, drop. Good girl, Jessie. Jessie has learned to drop the toy out here, but will she drop the truffle, which she so likes to eat? Jessie, Jessie, see? Jessie, 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 drop, drop, drop. Bravo, Jessie, so she's done it. She's dropping it. Let's see now if I bury it and she will get it for me. Jessie. Drop. Well done. Okay, she's doing it. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Jessie. Jessie. Where's it? Where's it? Drop, 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 Jessie. Good girl. So, yeah. She's got the hang of it. She's transferring the skill that she learned in the house outdoors. I feel so well done. You're such a good girl. You're such a good girl. I don't want to spend too long doing this today. She's had a tiring day. So we'll be back and we'll practice this. The great thing about training is you can take a few steps back and look at what it is she hasn't understood and then work on that. You might realise when you start your own training that the dog has another issue. It could be running off, chasing mice, and you may have to work on recall. Once Jessie has mastered finding truffles outside, I will move on to the final stage in the training. This is the most difficult one too. It's finding truffles in the wild. We started Jessie's training in January, and by mid-February she was ready to go out into the field looking for truffles. We were hunting tubo brumale, and every other day we would take Jessie out with us. If your dog can find the truffles that you've buried and isn't eating too many of them, then it's time to move on to the final stage of your truffle training, which is finding truffles out in the wild. Before you start looking for truffles, you first need to establish what kind of truffles grow in your area, when they grow, and the type of forest that they grow in. Obviously, it makes no sense to go wandering blindly around in the countryside, hoping to stumble across a truffle. So before you start, you need to be either following some kind of solid lead or else you've done your research properly. We're in the south of Europe and it's February, so I'm hunting for tubo brumale. I know that this type of truffle favours hazel and oak forest in the type of area which gets a good deal of sunlight but is also very damp. I've taken Jessie out here to have a sniff around. Jessie's a novice dog, so the chances of her turning up some truffles on our first trip are pretty slim. Jessie. When any new dog doesn't turn up truffles, you're left with a bit of a dilemma. Is the dog not up to the task, or are there no truffles in this particular place? You need to establish as quickly as possible whether the dog is at fault or whether it's the place that you've gone to. Let's take a look at the dog's behaviour. Is she searching? Or is she distracted? Is she running off? Are there any other issues you need to fix? But if she is looking and she is focused, if the dog has understood what to do in stage 1 and stage 2, the most common problem is that the dog is not able to transfer these skills. It's like a whole different ball game for the dog now that you're out in the forest. Transferring skills is not really an easy task for many dogs, yet they kind of get the point that you wanted them to find truffles you'd buried in the back garden. But when it comes to a different situation, when it comes to a whole different set of circumstances, the dog just doesn't make the connection. The dog's brain just doesn't make the same kind of connections that our brain does. They don't generalize these behaviors. What you could do to ease this along is to bury truffles in the places that you go in the wild. Get out of the car a little bit before her, bury some truffles and see if she finds them. And then hopefully she will stumble across a wild one, or she gets the general idea. One problem we're having at the moment is that the tuber bromeliad is a fairly deep truffle. It's about 5 centimetres under the ground. So this can cause a young dog like Jessie more problems than, say, a tuber estivum, which grows fairly close to the surface. She'd be more likely to stumble across something like that by chance, and then you're kind of on your way. The easiest way to make the transition from buried truffles to truffles in the wild is to bring in an extra teacher. And of course I'm talking here about an experienced truffle dog. Now, most people won't have an experienced truffle dog just lying around in their basement, so how are you supposed to get your hands on one? I think that generally, if you want to get into truffling, the easiest thing to do is to start networking. Find people with the same hobby. If you're in a truffle area, then there will be other hunters. There'll be training sessions and classes and seminars. You may have to pay something somewhere along the line. Ultimately, it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of wandering around. When we're training a novice dog, we will go through the first 2 stages at home. Then we will send the novice dog out with one of our 3 teachers. We have 3 team leaders who also double as teachers. Jane is our most experienced teacher, and so she'll be working with Jessie today. Jane has taught dozens of novice dogs. Obviously she's very experienced, she's also patient. She's very thorough and careful in her work, but above all she's learned to communicate with us. She knows exactly what we want her to do, and with a look she can communicate what's going on in any given situation out in the field. Take the new student out with the dog trainer. The student dog can just observe what's going on at first. You need to encourage the dog to come close by creating a buzz around the truffle.
Good girl, Jessie. Have a look, Jessie. What's that?
Praising the teacher excitedly, and of course giving out snacks. Have the dog come and sniff around the truffle holes. Yes. Show her the truffle.
Nice, Jane. Nice.
Finally, when the teacher finds a truffle and starts to dig, let the novice take over the dig. And maybe you can bury one of the truffles that the teacher has found and have the new dog dig it up. And
what you found there, Jessie? Did you find something? What you got there?
Now each dog is different.
Jessie, that's an old hole. That's an old...
Some novices are going to catch on straight away, and for others it'll take a couple of trips. maybe more than this, and a lot more patience on your behalf. It probably helps not just to focus on the end goal, but how you get there, by building up your understanding of your dog and her behaviour, and your dog learning to understand you and what your roles are within this teamwork. After our successes with Brumale, we entered a season of no truffles. This is the period between March and May when the tuber estivum season kicks off in South Europe. We keep truffles in the freezer and we continue outdoor training in the off months. And we'll use this time to work on different issues. Like I say, if she's eating things, if she isn't stopping when she's digging. Whatever you do, don't abandon the activity just because the truffles have stopped, especially with a novice dog. Come May, it was time for a new species of truffle. A lot of people ask if you have to train dogs for each different species. The answer is that we never have. The science seems to indicate that the dog is sniffing out sulfides rather than the specific truffle scent. Jessie started off the Black Summer truffle season poorly, as we would have expected. This is not because she's hunting for a new species of truffle, but she's on new terrain. And at the start of the season, the fragrance of the truffles is not as strong as it is later on. And this makes them harder to find. She's also a puppy, not yet a year old, so we have to really manage our expectations. So for a month, Jessie was running off, she was chasing mice, she was throwing off the younger dogs.
Jess.
Then one day it was like everything just clicked into place.
Well done, Jessie. Well done, Jessie.
I don't know whether it was because the truffles had become more aromatic. Strangely enough, it was the day that she had her first haircut. And I wonder if she'd been hot before and that this had affected her attitude. So Jessie is now finding truffles by herself. Congratulations, I mean that was like a great haul for her first effort. She scratched the first truffle, but that was my fault for not stopping her quickly enough. It can be quite a tricky journey to begin with depending on the dog. Obviously we started by teaching her, but the main job I think was done by the other dogs. Congratulations to Jessie. I mean, we couldn't be more proud of her. She's done a really good job. Well done, Jess! And with her new haircut too. Her progress wasn't linear. She would progress and then she would regress. Now, the key reason for all of the ups and downs over the course of a truffle dog's training is the lack of reinforcement. Solid training takes time, and the key to this is repetition and consistency. As trainers, we need to look at our own behaviour too. Your goal is to be as patient and as persistent as possible.
Find it, Jessie.
So look at yourself. Is there room for improvement in those areas? Because you can't be throwing all the blame on the dog when you're finding your feet as a team. When you catch yourself feeling frustrated, try instead to embrace the challenge.
Drop it.
Again, keeping notes may help you stay objective rather than getting too caught up in the emotions. By the end of the summer, I think she'd really hit her stride. She was working seamlessly with the other dogs and consistently finding truffles. We were really impressed with her progress. Anyway, the next challenge for Jessie was the white truffle. In October, at almost a year and a half, Jessie joined the team for her first white truffle season. These truffles grow deeper. They need precision to avoid damage. The first part of the season can be tricky. Again, as we say, the truffles are never as strong scented. And in addition, this was a poor season, which always makes training harder. The truffles are few and far between, and when there isn't much work to do, the learner dog will often revert to other behaviours. They don't yet have the patience of the older dogs who are used to extended searches. Jess.
Let's see what you found there, Jess. Let's have a look. Bravo, Jessie. Bravo, Jessie.
However, by November,
Jessie
had found her first white truffle. This is a really, really proud moment for any truffle dog handler, like the pinnacle of success.
It's not a big one, but it is a white truffle. Good girl, Jessie. You're such a good girl.
This year we have worked with Jessie through to March with tuber Brumale, then to July with estivum, and up to September with ucinatum. And now, here we are back at the start of the white truffle season for Jessie's second year. The goal is now repetition and reinforcement. Jessie is becoming more dependable and more focused with every season.
I wonder where Jessie is. Where's that old Jessie? Jess! Jessie!
Watch out, Mom, she's going to destroy it.
Girl Jess, go back a little bit. Girl Jessie. 2 years down the line, we can say that Jessie is now a bona fide white truffle hunter. Is the Lagotto the ultimate truffle dog then? Well, after working with just one, I obviously can't give a blanket statement. There are going to be many variations within a breed, but Jessie does definitely have many of the traits that would make for the ultimate truffle dog. She's a quick learner. She loves to be active and has an incredible nose. And of course, she's very well suited to this type of environment. That said, training her wasn't as easy as the breed's reputation would suggest. We are out truffle hunting with our dogs year round, and they have constant exposure to all these different species, which you would think would really speed up the learning process. But despite this, it took considerable time and effort and commitment to help Jessie to reach her potential, and I definitely had to go at her pace, not the other way round. Ultimately, how good a truffle dog a Lagotto can become depends not so much on inherent potential as the quality and the quantity of the training. So while Jessie is an excellent truffle dog, and I would absolutely recommend the breed, you may be in for a surprise if you're expecting an easy ride based solely on the Lagotto's reputation.